and thanks for the great work and chairing of ICARUS 3 so far. I think it's going really well. So I'm going to talk today on a topic connected to sustainability, and it's a really interesting project that we're working on here in the Midlands region in Ireland about the future skills needs of food and drink producers in the region. And this is a project that we're working on in collaboration with a number of our regional partners, and we've also had significant and very useful involvement from our Run EU network. So before I dive straight into the project, to explain a little bit about the context for those who haven't had the opportunity to visit us yet in Tooth. The Midlands region in Ireland comprises 4 counties, Longford, Laois, Offaly and Westmeath. And our campus in Tooth in Athlone is based in County Westmeath. So we have very strong interaction, as you'd expect, with the region. We interact with companies, we recruit students from the region, and we work with many community, social and government organisations nearby. But they're very small in terms of population. We have a combined population in these 4 counties of only 320,000 people. So it's, there are many cities, of course, in your countries across the Run EU network that are significantly bigger than this combined region. So we have a very strong emphasis, though, here on the word that we are a region. And this is very in tune with who we are in Tooth and also who we are as Run EU. In our region, we have a long history of agricultural heritage, and as a result, there are many craft food producers. And I'll give some examples of brands that are well known in the region, well known in Ireland, and even well known abroad as well. We also have many craft food producers, so many micro SMEs as well, and I'll speak about those in a few moments. So I sit on the committee of our Midlands Regional Enterprise Plan looking at food and drink producers. And we have a number of themes in this plan. This was published in 2021 to cover the period 21, 22, 23 and 24. And we have a number of themes which emerged from it. Unsurprising, of course, is sustainability. We want to build a very sustainable ecosystem of food and drink producers across the region. Second was very much about branding and awareness and promotion to develop this local awareness and pride of the quality of food and drink that we produce in the area. The third was very much an issue on scale. So we have many manufacturers, but many of them are quite small, and we want to build up the skill sets so that there's the capacity and the interest and the confidence and systems there to support export readiness. And finally is on food tourism. And we need to develop and improve the food and drink culture to create very strong visitor experiences in Ireland. Ireland is typically visited, of course, by tourists for many different reasons, usually around quality of offering, hospitality and so on. We haven't ever really capitalized on our food tourism as much as many other European countries have. But despite this, our visitor surveys consistently show that visitors are very satisfied with the food offering when they're here, and we need to promote the quality of ingredients that we do a little bit better. So the methodology for the project was to start off with a desk review and policy context analysis. So we start off at a very high level and we look at what's happening across Europe in terms of sustainable policy around food. We moved forward to looking at the Irish and national policy and then down to regional and local policy issues. We then set up I suppose, a panel of experts from across Run EU. So we've consulted through some focus groups with different types of expertise, and I'll come to this in a moment. And the third phase, which we're just moving into now, is on skills needs identification. So, I mean, I mentioned earlier about some brands in the region. I think many people will be familiar with some of these, I would hope. So one of the most famous ones in the region is Tullamore Dew, a very famous whiskey brand that's produced in Tullamore in County Offaly. This, I believe, is one of the world's best-selling whiskies. You'll frequently see it as Run EU members as you travel between the partners. I doubt there's an airport in the world that doesn't sell it. We also have a locally produced whiskey from Kilbeggan. We've many craft beers. We have a company nearby us called Penelto that produce tens of thousands of loaves of bread every hour, which are exported to the UK and sold as own brand bread in some of the UK's largest supermarkets. And we have Glenisk, a very high quality dairy producer that produces different yogurts and so on that are exported all over the world. So for a small region, we punch above our weight and are quite well known for a number of these brands. So in the desk review, we started off by looking.
Sounds like we can't get through a flight without someone making an Aer Lingus comment. You know.
Apologies if you could just mute. If all the speakers could please mute, please. Thank you. So in the desk review, we started off looking at the European Green Deal. And of course, there are a lot of issues related to sustainability in this document. We've looked at the Food Vision 2030. Nationally, we're looking at Fáilte Ireland's policies related to food tourism. Fáilte Ireland is our national tourism authority. But this isn't specifically a food tourism project. Really, it's more related to food and drink export and production in the region. So, of course, we look at our organizations such as Teagasc, which is around agriculture, food creation, and also our SME supports such as Enterprise Ireland, IBEC, and various other bodies that work with exports such as Poor BIA. We also looked at other relevant literature in the sector, and this is about really providing a kind of a solid theoretical framework for the study. So to give you an overview of what education provision exists in the region, and this gives you an idea of the breadth of topic that food and drink production really gets into. To be successful in this type of industry, you need to have really strong engineering skills in the region. So there's a lot of the expertise at the moment is around technology. It's around robotics and automation. There are robots, for example, that we've visited on our site visits that could cost, you know, €1 or €2 million that do very simple things, many of them, but they do it at such a rapid scale and rapid pace that they're needed for this scale level that many of the companies aspire to. We also need food science, of course. We need culinary skills with you know, for the craft food production. We need skills in supply chain and logistics and business management and accountancy and law and so on. So you need a really wide range of skills, and this can only really be provided by a range of providers. One provider on their own, it's simply too big. So we have Technological University of the Shannon. Our university is providing many of these at higher education level, including both at undergraduate and postgraduate, but also in research, full-time, in-person, online, and part-time courses as well. Our education and training boards do similar. They do this at vocational and further education level. We have multiple private providers who provide courses on short topics such as food safety. And then we've many national providers as well who provide courses on topics like where there are identified skills shortages. And these are offered through a mechanism called Springboard, which heavily subsidizes the courses. So our support from the Run EU network has been wonderful. We've held an initial focus group with some Run EU colleagues, and this really helped us in three ways. First of all, it helps us benchmark our offering against what's happening in other regions with similar geographies, which was the whole reason, I think, of establishing Run and joining this alliance in the first place, is to be able to share knowledge and to transfer good practice across Europe. And what we've learned from these case studies is, I suppose, areas of good practice, things that we can do better in our region, but also we've been able to think, okay, we're doing that quite well. Other regions maybe aren't doing this or aren't looking at it in the same way as us. So that benchmarking piece has been really useful. Second, of course, is really just being able to touch base with colleagues and academics across the network. So it's a broad topic, as I said, and to be able to dip in and out of that expertise with food science, marketing, consumer behavior, digitalization, and so on, has been really good. And third, and this part hasn't really come yet, but I know that it will. I'm 100% confident it will. Academics are always very critical, of course, and to be able to have some critical friends to review our report and so on will be really welcome, to suggest improvements and to get some updates on what we're doing would be super. So we've had input so far from IPCA, from IPL and from NHL, and we look forward to collaborating with other members of the network in due course on it. So we're now moving into our primary fieldwork phase on the project. We're going to be conducting around 25 semi-structured interviews with food and drink enterprises and key industry informants such as our tourism authority, our food and drink export, our agriculture providers, and so on. And we've lined up a lot of our interviews to do in mid-January. So we have a range of semi-structured interviews and focus groups. And from there, we'll then move on to a quantitative survey, which will be extracted from our Midlands food and drink strategy and directory. So the population for the study is looking at the 4 counties. As I said, they've a combined population of around 320,000 people, Longford, Laois, Offaly and Westmeath. And we're targeting our university, our education and training boards, our agriculture, tourism and business support. And what we've really come to recognize as we've moved through this study is the diversity of skills needed to have a successful food and drink ecosystem. It's not about just kind of graduating students with food science degrees. It really needs a very holistic look at the topic to keep and attract skills to the region. It's a very complex and disparate topic, of course. So we're looking at both the supply and the demand side of the equation. In terms of skills supply, we're looking at the education providers, and demand. We're going to be talking to industry and seeing what do they have, what do they need more of, what are the education providers doing well, where are their deficiencies or where are their gaps, or what's not being taught, or sometimes it's as simple as what new courses need to be developed in the region to support this this area. So our preliminary work, we signed our contracts with the Department of Enterprise. We've held our focus group. We're going through our ethics application process. We've recruited one of our PhD students to work on this, and this is a PhD student who's jointly supervised between TUS and IPL and another project. We've started to review our secondary documentation, and we've been presenting the process for review at various opportunities, including to Run EU, but also regionally to our county councils as well. So the preliminary findings from the partners and from literature, we've put together our structured survey and our questionnaires based on 10 findings from the review of literature. And unsurprisingly, these are, I suppose, quite thematically divided against soft skills, technological skills, and sustainable development. So the technological side, of course, is looking at new technologies, digital literacy and technology. We could be including things like AI and robotics and training. We're looking at issues in sustainability around legislative targets that the government has set. So we have to reduce our carbon emissions by 50% by the year 2030, for example. And there are all sorts of specialized local issues around things like biodiversity and habitat protection as well, which often intersect with food production. The soft skills piece has come through really strongly as well. Food needs to have creativity, lots of innovation and branding, for example, and new product development is really, really important. And all of this is underpinned, of course, by the need to retain talent in the region. We are a very, very good region to live in. There's a really high standard of life, but we are challenged that the east of us, 1 hour away, is Dublin, and the west of us, 1 hour away, is Galway. And both of these cities have very strong pull for young talent. So it's quite challenging sometimes to keep young people with high skills living in the Midlands region. So we need to look at this as a kind of an underpinning philosophy for what we do. So at this point, I'm pausing in the presentation from talking, and I'm putting in a survey into the chat link. And I'd like to ask for the participants here today to click on the link. It's a very simple link with just 3 questions in it. And what I'd like you to do is have a look at the 3 questions I have put in and tell me a little bit about what's happening in terms of food production and food policy in your region. So these 3 questions just ask about what's happening about food product development in your region, and it asks you if you can supply any links to any interesting policies that are happening with relation to food and drink production around regional Europe. It would also be really good if you could have a think about what are the key challenges you see for food and drink skills providers in the region in future. So I'll leave that with you. You can work on it or type in a couple of bullet point answers. 1 or 2 points from each person would be super. But you can do that while I move on through the last slide or 2. So, of course, this topic is about food and drink production, but it has some overlaps with what we do in our tourism research group as well. And we have a tourism innovation research group in the Technological University of the Shannon. And we also have a tourism research group under RunEU in Work Package 5. And we've been successful with some European projects. We've been successful with co-supervision of many PhD students. And we're very keen to keep growing this in future years. So as per the discussion from our previous speakers from FHV, if you are interested in undertaking a PhD with us, the way that we do this is we have 2 or more RunEU partners. We collaborate with industry so that the projects are focused on industry-based challenges. We give students mobility opportunities. We support them financially to spend time in the partner universities. And we have a really good community of PhD students and networks of businesses to mentor and support. These are structured programs, and they are working alongside taught modules which support the students on their research journeys. So we have all kinds of unusual and interesting projects going on. We're working with NHL Stendon, for example, on a very interesting project called Epics Days. This is a project about alternative tourism accommodation with a low carbon emphasis. We're working on a project called Food Touristic, which is about how we can use technology across hotel schools in Europe to reduce food waste. Just this week, we started our Inspire project, which is working with refugees in terms of post-conflict tourism development. And very recently, we finished a dark sky ecotourism project, which is looking at how we can protect the night sky from light pollution. So you can see that across all of these, there's a strong emphasis on sustainability, both from an environmental and also from a social inclusion perspective. We currently have 13 PhD students in our group, many of whom are co-supervised across the network. So thanks for listening. That's all from me. I'll leave you with the survey link in the chat. I hope 1 or 2 people have time to fill in a couple of points about regional food policy in your areas. I hope it was interesting to you. My email is on the screen, anthony.johnston@tus.ie. And thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference and the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for your presentation. What struck me was the holistic approach, and I think that's key to practice-based research. You do your research in companies, in societal environments, and it's not just one thing you encounter, I think, when you do research in this way. So, and what also struck me was to retain the talent in the region. I don't know for the other region, but I think it's the same at NHL Stendon within the Netherlands. We're in the north of the Netherlands. That's really a challenge for us also. So good for you for taking that into account, because that's very important to retain talent within our regions. We have some time, and as I mentioned at the start of the conference, I would really like to ask people to turn off their camera while presenting, but now I'm going to ask you to turn on your camera so I can see everyone who is visiting us today, 88 people at the moment. I think I won't catch them all if I'm going to do a print screen, But very welcome to all of you. I saw in the registration form that there are not only people from the Run EU Alliance, but also people from South Africa and Brazil, for example. Italy, I saw someone from Italy, so very, very welcome to you all. So let's see and wave. I don't know if one of my colleagues can try to also make a screenshot just in case it doesn't work with me. So I'm going to stop recording now.